It's time to get smashed. Hello and welcome, my Super Smashing Leafs. Yes, we will give the Super Smash Bros. Characters Pokemon types. Let's go! Okay, we start with the one and only Mario. Now, I have seen a lot of people giving Mario firefighting, which I simply do not understand. Because why would he be fighting type? Sure, especially in the RPG series, he does fight a lot of monsters, but with that in mind, every Pokemon would be a fighting type. No, it doesn't make sense. I say he would be definitely a fire type. Maybe adding normal to it, though I am personally not a fan of normal dual typings, so why not just pure fire? Maybe fire grass, because he's from the Mushroom Kingdom. But I think, like, just because he's from there doesn't mean he needs to be a grass type. Not every Pokemon you find in tall grass is a grass type as well, right? So, yeah, I think pure fire fits in really, really well. Okay, when it comes to Donkey Kong, I am in a bit of a struggle between the normal type, as he is just a monkey, or the fighting type. But ultimately, I'm gonna say I'm gonna choose fighting type here. Pure fighting because nothing else really fits him, and he is pretty muscular, so I guess pure fighting is actually a good choice, I would say. Definitely. So, when it comes to Link, he has to be fighting type. Like, he's a sword fighter, and Pokemon has shown us that sword fighting means fighting type, and it does fit him. However, from time to time, he's also a magic user, and I have a feeling fighting fairy could fit him. He doesn't really look like a fairy, but, well, from time to time he is also followed by a fairy. And all that magic-y stuff and things, yeah. Though, I'm not completely sure about the fairy thing. If we don't make him fairy type, I would at least give him some kind of ability that, like, makes it so that at least fire, ice, and electric, which are the usual elements used in the Zelda games, are counted as stab type moves or something. Something along the lines. So either pure fighting or fighting fairy would fit him really well. Maybe even fighting steel, because the sword is made out of steel, and so are arrowheads. But that's, I don't know, that's a bit neither here nor there, really. Tell me in the comments what you think fits him best, actually. It also really depends on which Link it is exactly. Like, the Breath of the Wild Link isn't as magically inclined, because he more uses technology and stuff. While the Ocarina of Time Link has 3 spells under his belt, so yeah, it's a bit hard. We would need to diverge between the different links. But this is about Smash Bros. Characters, not about links, so yeah. Some kind of link will also be down in the description. Check those out. So, about Samus. There will be 2 types, but both will be singular type. Yeah, Samus herself, like she is here, will be steel type. Because, like, with that heavy steel armor, or what kind of metal this is, I'm not too familiar with Metroid. Yeah, you gotta give her steel type, obviously. But there is also Zero Suit Samus, which she can become, like a form change. And that I would just give normal type. I considered fighting type, sure, but she is some kind of hunter, something like that, but she isn't really like a martial artist or anything, at least not that I know of. And yeah, normal type with some kind of ability that makes her also pretty sturdy despite losing the steel type would be good, I think. And well, if she gets her armor back, she will just return to being a steel type, obviously. And I think that's a pretty good choice here. So, Dark Samus. I never experienced her myself, so I did some research, and I mean, she is called Dark Samus. So Dark type is a given. And then I considered Ghost type because I thought, is this like Samus but dead or something? But then I learned Dark Samus is, despite the name, actually a being of light. So yeah, Dark Fairy. That's like the perfect fitting for her. I don't quite get why she is a being of light. Apparently she's not made of like dark ether, but some kind of light thing. I have not played Metroid Prime, sorry. If they ever remake the second and third one, I will play those and also 4, but yeah, as long as we don't get remakes of those two as well, I don't know how to really get the whole series. I'm sorry, Metroid fans, I'm not playing 4 until I can play the first 3 without paying like $1 million. Yoshi, my favorite character from the Mario universe. Well, Dragon is definitely a given. Though, I don't know. I don't want to end it like that. Because in Super Mario World, and maybe some other games as well, I'm not completely sure, he has the ability to take things into himself and then, like, fly or do a stomp attack. Stuff like that. And also breathing fire is part of it. So I would give him an ability that lets him swallow something, maybe tie it to berries or whatever, to give him any secondary type he can. This will be tied to the held item, and if we do make that berries, that means once the berry is consumed, he will lose that secondary type. But you get a lot of variety out of Yoshi, and I think that makes him a pretty interesting Pokemon, if he ever was a Pokemon. Which he never was, despite that one magazine claiming you could evolve a Dragonite into Yoshi, but this was an April Fool's joke. A very well made one. Okay, Kirby. Basically, I would say it's the same thing as with Yoshi. He's a normal type, though, that can become any type depending on what he eats. So, to change it up a bit, instead of the secondary type being determined by what berry he carries, it's once he uses that berry, he will change into that secondary type for the remainder of the battle. So, it's a bit different here, and yeah, I said I don't like normal typings to have dual typings, because for me it just doesn't make sense. But in this case, due to this ability, it kind of does make sense. Maybe we could do it that it's not a dual typing, but the type changes completely. But honestly, I would be fine with a normal plus whatever typing in this specific instance. Because for Kirby, it's more like a shell he wears, with him himself not changing really. He just gains that ability on top of his abilities. Well, he loses the ability to suck stuff in, but, you know, once you have, like, the ability to breathe fire, that ability sucks anyway. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Sorry about that. So, Fox. I struggled a bit with him, and I did see people giving him flying type because he's an ace pilot, but like, he cannot fly himself. So if you would teach a Pikachu to pilot a ship, yeah, he would become a flying type as well, would it? So yeah, I don't feel flying type. Though I learned that he's pretty good at hand-to-hand fighting. Not only in the Super Smash Bros. Series, because if the only evidence that somebody is good at hand-to-hand combat is because of his moves in the Smash Bros. Series, I will not count it because it's a fighting game. Of course they are good at that in some kind of capacity. But apparently, there are some minigames in Star Fox 64 and other titles as well, where he shows these skills already, without the Smash Bros. Connection. So, that means a fighting type would be pretty good. On top of that, in Star Fox Adventures with that staff, he's also pretty good at fighting. I would even say that the staff being like a crystal magic thing, I think, I have not played that game. If you would equip him with that staff, he becomes a fighting fairy type due to the staff. Though that might be complete bullshit because, like I said, I don't know the game. I'm not like reading too deeply into it just for a singular type that might or might not fit. Choose it for yourself, whatever you want. But definitely fighting type does fit him. There are too many fighting types for my taste, kinda, sorta. But, well, I guess it's okay. Pikachu. Yeah, Pikachu. I mean, it's obviously a rock type. What else would it be? No, joking aside, from here on out, I will just skip the Pokemon because they already have Pokemon types. What shall I tell you? Pikachu is an electric type because it's an electric type in the game. Pichu is an electric type because Pichu is an electric type in the game. That just wouldn't make sense. So, yeah, Pokemon will not be covered from this point on. I just wanted to make the rock type joke. And for this segment already goes on way too long, so let's move on to our next character. Luigi. So, Luigi, the brother of Mario. Mario is often considered to be the fire character because, I don't know, there's some kind of relation to a fire flower. Technically, Luigi has the same with like every power-up that Mario has. But if you look at the latest Mario and Luigi game, yeah, they are associated with fire and ice. Fire being Mario and ice being Luigi, and I think I will just take that. They are fire and ice brothers, so he will be a pure ice type. I considered Ghost for him, but, well, he is fighting ghosts with a vacuum. That doesn't make him Ghost type, right? Maybe something that's very effective against Ghost could work, but that would just be, I don't know. And so, is he very effective against Ghost? He is pretty afraid of Ghosts, so I wouldn't say being very effective would actually make sense, really. It's more like a weakness would be good, but some ability that makes him strong against them if he's hit by Ghost-type moves. That might fit him more. That would be Luigi in a shell of a nut. Yeah, Ness with all his PK attacks. Definitely Psychic type. That's just what Ness is. Though, can we find a fitting secondary type? He has PK Fire, PK Ice, and PK Thunder, so one of those? Or what about the other two? That would just be... yeah, everything would fit, so I don't feel that. Fairy? Because it's kind of magically? No, I think Psychic covered that very well. Maybe Psychic Fighting with all his baseball bat stuff? But I don't feel Fighting as well, because he's just normal child with Psychic abilities. But that's the thing. That's why he's a Psychic type. So, Bug type? Because where else will we use Bug type? No, probably Bug type won't be used in this at all, but what can you do? Yeah, honestly, I settle on pure Psychic. It's just the best fit for the little boy that is named after console. So, Captain Falcon is a bit of a struggle. He could be a fighting type, I guess. Another one. He is shown to be very capable of fighting, so what can I do about that, right? He's also pretty muscular. Yeah, but he also does show a definite affinity to fire. So he will be a fighting fire type. Those are pretty rare, so good to have one more. I think they should make a firefighting starter at one point. They never did that before, right? Yeah, Peach is really easy. She has to be a fairy type. She has been shown to have some magical, even godly powers, which do fit the fairy type. She is very pink. Not that pink is a necessity for a fairy type, or that every pink Pokemon has to be a fairy type, but in this case, it works out really well. I also a bit considered grass type, because she is the princess, or technically queen honestly, of the Mushroom Kingdom. Mushrooms, at least in Pokemon, counting as plants. But I don't feel she is planty enough herself, honestly. I don't know. It kinda feels a bit wrong. Maybe she has some kind of ability where she can summon a toad, and that changes her form and gives her the grass type or something, I don't know. Toads really aren't mushrooms as well, so yeah. I think Pure Fairy is good. Maybe flying. Maybe flying. Because she can glide with her umbrella. So, fairy flying? Actually, I like that. And gliding works for flying type as well. So yeah, let's do that. Daisy was a bit harder to think of. But I guess she does have magical powers as well, just like Princess Peach. So again, Fairy would fit. However, sorry Peach, I will give her a dual type. She has that over you. Because she can actually summon flowers. So I guess Fairy Grass would be good for her. Which, you could argue that she only summons flowers, isn't grassy herself, so why should she have that fire weakness of the grass type, right? But I do want to kinda give her some kind of difference towards Peach, which is hard. Maybe Psychic, because that's also kind of a magical type. No, that's really just Fairy, honestly. Yeah, what can you do? But then again, Peach does have the flying type, if we want to add that to her. So, actually Peach has the edge over her. Which, well, myself, I prefer Daisy, but, you know, that doesn't matter. So, yeah, she will be Fairy Grass then. So, Bowser is based on basically a godly dragon turtle. Dragon, obviously. He also is shown to have a very, very big affinity towards fire. So he will be Dragon Fire. A kind of boring mix, but not that much done in Pokemon actually. However, I will one-up you on Bowser, because he's so simple Dragon Fire that I will consider something for him that's not even included in Smash Bros. And that would be Skull Bowser, or Skeleton Bowser, or Dead Bowser, whatever you want to call him. That I would turn into a Dragon Ghost type. Because why not? I think the Dragon part should stay, and I don't think we do have a Dragon Ghost type. But prove me wrong, maybe I'm just not thinking of the correct Pokemon here. Yeah, so I thought a bit about the Ice Climbers. First off, you might think, well, ice, obviously, but it's not like they have icy powers or anything. They're actually against ice, rather? Sure, they have that ice attack in Smash Bros, but, you know, from their own game, that doesn't really make sense. So what I want to do with them is, due to their wooden hammers, they will be grass type, making them weak to ice. But I will also give them fighting type. Sure, they're not very fighty, they're not like martial artists or anything, but fighting is super effective against ice, which is the whole thing they are about, destroying ice. And yeah, rock, fire and steel are there as well, but I cannot fit those in, honestly. And with them being weak, but also super effective against ice, I think that fits them very, very perfectly. Also, maybe they have an ability where they can act 2 times, like Mega Kangaskhan, but not like Mega Kangaskhan, maybe weaken the attacks or something, because they are twins and always come together, something like that. Or they're just gender differences and you only get one of them, something like that. I'm not making this an actual game or something, so that doesn't really matter. So, a lot of people, due to her ninja-ness, would make Sheik a dark type. But, like, dark is literally evil in Japanese, and the way I see dark type Pokemon is that they are mischievous, or maybe even evil, or some treacherous trickery tricksters. Something like that. And that just doesn't fit her at all. Or him in this form, it's hard to tell, actually. Maybe we should refer to her as him due to not give away that it's actually Zelda. Oh no! Spoilers, I guess. Yeah, but what does fit her is fighting. She is very agile and has good fighting moves. But also steel, because all that throwing knife stuff, that screams steel in my eyes. So, fighting steel it is. Okay, another princess, most often wearing pink. Again a fairy type. She is magically inclined, and that just is perfect for the fairy type. I just didn't wanna leave it at that. So I thought maybe water or ice, because those are the elements that represent Nairu, who made the Triforce of Wisdom, which she bears, but she herself doesn't really show any ice or water affinity. She does an affinity to light, which again would be fairy type, so wow. Great. But then I thought, wait, then I really had it. Wisdom. Psychic. She has the Triforce of Wisdom, and that would very well fit the Psychic type. She is a psychotic fairy. Wait, no, not like that. But, you know, Psychic fairy, I think that actually fits her well. Even though it's not obvious. This was not easy. What is a doctor? Well, I'm doing something that I don't like. I'm giving a normal type, but also being a dual type. Because the thing is, he as a doctor is just normal. He's a normal guy that can heal you. But if you think about it, medicine often comes from poisons. So he will be normal poison. Several reasons for poison. First off, he himself might be normal. That's just his body. But he is very well used to analyze poisons and healing poisons by using different poisons, because that is how medicine often works. You choose a poison and make it into something that heals. So maybe he could have a poison type move that actually heals someone in a duel battle or something. Also, he is fighting against viruses. And viruses, bugs, is there a connection? I think you can see a connection there. And yeah, so that poison type would be good against the bugs or viruses. So yeah, tell me, what do you think about that? I think it works for him, honestly, and it's much better than just pure normal type. Falco! Oh, thank you. I'm not sure if he himself can fly. He definitely is an ace pilot and can fly that way. But I will definitely make him flying type. We don't get many flying type chances, so yeah. He will be a flying type. I have no idea about any dual type form. Maybe fighting type, same reason as Fox. But I don't know. Not too sure about that. But definitely flying type will be one of his types, if not the only type. Marth, the legendary hero. Yeah, I probably have to give all the Fire Emblem characters fighting type. He definitely will be fighting type. And I think, due to him being, like, associated with light and stuff, he probably also should be a fairy type. So a fighting fairy, which is the best I can come up with for him. It's kinda the obvious pick, but what can I do? I mean, if there is an obvious pick, you should take the obvious pick, because that just makes sense, right? Yeah, Lucina. She basically is female Marth. I cannot really give you anything else except fighting fairy again. Because, like I said, she is female Marth. Or female Chrome, you could argue, but honestly, Chrome is just Marth later. It's just the perfect fit. There isn't really anything you can do about that. Also, her name basically means light, which is the one thing associated with fairy. What can I do? I don't make the rules. Except I do, but I have to adhere to my own rules. So, Young Link. Basically, kinda-ish the same as the other Link. But as he's not yet really a skilled fighter or anything, just being in his beginnings and stuff, especially if you consider him as the Ocarina of Time Young Link and not the Majora's Mask one, I'd say he's a normal type. Though, what if we, like Ogerpon, include masks, and those masks could change his normal type into the type depending on the mask. Right? I think that sounds good. That works very well. Ganondorf. I considered many types, but I basically stuck with pure dark. He has dark powers and is using them. I considered dragon type because his huge pig form, you could say that's kind of like a dragon, but I don't know. Maybe he can change into that form and become dragon type that way? Oh well. I also considered ground type because he is from the desert. So, yeah, dark ground. Yeah, no. I don't completely feel it. It would make sense. So, again, I leave it to you what you think fits him better. Either dark or dark ground, I would say. So, Roy is pretty easy, honestly. I mean, he is a sword fighter, so fighting type is definitely a given. And then his binding blade, yeah, that's definitely a fire elemental blade, so firefighting, this very rare type, especially among starters, is probably the best that we can do for him. Yeah. Again, fighting type. I guess that's the fate that all Fire Emblem characters will just have. What can I do? So, Chrome, yeah. This is hard. I really wanted to give him a secondary type besides fighting, which is a given as he is a master sword fighter. But given his abilities, I gotta be honest, nothing really fits. Yeah, you could argue steel type because he has a steel sword, but if we would give every character that has some kind of metal weapon the steel type, yeah, that just wouldn't work out. So I guess you might wanna make a case for Fairy because of, well, the Falchion being like a magical sword. I don't feel that really though. I guess pure fighting does fit him best. So, yeah, let's do that.
Mr. Game & Watch.
At first I thought, Mr. Game & Watch, this will be a hard one, but then I thought, well, we have Porygon in Pokemon already, and it's kind of the same thing. So I will definitely give Mr. Game & Watch the electric type. What do you mean Porygon is a normal type? Yes, Porygon is a normal type, I know, but honestly, it's supposed to be a digital Pokemon. And data is made out of electricity. Those zeros and ones, those are basically on and off. So you either have an electric pulse going or you don't. And that's what makes data happen. And thus, as Porygon should be an electric type, so should be Mr. Game & Watch. So this is what I pick here. So, Meta Knight! Yeah, I actually did not struggle with him, even though I thought I would. But, well, first off, I will give him Steel, because he's fully armored, and this sword is not just a sword made out of metal, it's a very, very bladed blade, if you know what I mean, and yeah, it has a lot of metal stuff going on. The second type I want to give him is actually Dragon. Why Dragon, you might ask? But well, he has those bad wings going on, which, could you interpret that as Dragon Wings? Sure, you can. And, well, we have a Dragon Pokemon that already is a bat, so why not do that? But there's another point about Dragon to be made. And that is, mainly in Rayquaza, that stuff from outer space often is kinda associated with dragons. I know, like, we have some Pokemon apparently from the moon which are rather fairy type, but still, that Rayquaza thing going on, yeah, definitely Dragon would fit. Also, he does have the Halberd, his ship, which kinda, if you want to, looks like a dragon. I feel like Steel Dragon is a good pick for him. Yep, Pit is really easy. He will be a pure fairy type. He has light attributes going on, he is heroic, and I think, like, it does fit him. Now you might wanna say, what about flying? He has wings. But if you know Pit, you know he cannot fly, actually. Except when he is able to fly due to certain items or the power of a certain goddess. And that will give him a change of his mode. And, well, form change in Pokemon is what the term actually is. This form will make him a fairy flying type, of course. He will get that. You might want to call it a Mega Evolution or something, but I would say it's rather just a form change he can do by having the specific item equipped, just like that. Turn him into a flying type as well, and maybe give him some attack that works like Holucha's, what was it, Flying Press or something that can be a flying or fighting type. An attack that can either be flying or fairy type, depending on what's actually super effective. I think that works best for him. So, for Dark Pit, take everything I said about Pit and basically apply it here as well. With a subtle difference of him not being a fairy type, initially, but being a dark type. Yeah, I was struggling a bit to make him an actual dark type because he's not really evil and he doesn't like have dark powers necessarily, but he is a bit on the mischievous side, and also his name is Dark Pit and he's a black version of Pit. I guess it fits, yeah. I just gotta go with that. It does fit him too well, even though if you look very deep into it, it does not that well, but you know what I mean. I think you get what I mean. You're intelligent, you know that. Also, as you are intelligent, you did press the likes button already and subscribed, right? Because otherwise, Dark Pit will show you his dark side. His really dark side. Yeah, Vario, I mean, he attacks by farting. Definitely he's gotta be a poison type, right? He has to. Those farts are very likely poisonous. Then I thought, will the dark type also work? Is he that evil? Well, he stole Mario's castle. He is greedy and egotistic. Yeah, he is a dark type. He is a dark poison type. That is for sure. Easy go. Okay, I gotta admit, I barely know anything about Solid Snake. Is that Solid Snake even? It's some kind of snake. I know he knows CQC, which definitely gives him the honor of being a fighting type. And apparently he's highly intelligent, but as far as I have found, he doesn't have any psychic powers or anything, so I don't think psychic type will work. Just being very intelligent doesn't make you a psychic type. You need to have like some kind of psychic powers on top of that. But if you disagree with pure fighting type, feel free to put that in the comments. Like I said, I have never played any Metal Gear Solid game. And I don't know this character very well. And yeah, I looked him up on a wiki, but I'm not gonna go an extreme deep dive on each character here because then this video would take years to make. And well, just because I don't know one or two characters all that well, you know. I think fighting type works though, purely. But if you disagree, well, tell me in the comments. So, Ike. Yeah, fighting type, of course. And I think, just like Roy, fire type as well. I've never played Path of Radiance or Radiant Dawn, but apparently this sword does have fire powers, so I'm not too sure if this should give him the fire type though, or just give him a lot of fire type attacks. Not like I'm turning into an actual Pokemon so that attacks would matter, but yeah, maybe pure fighting like Chrome or firefighting like Roy. We would have a doubling in types definitely for Fire Emblem here, so what can I do? Really. Okay, Diddy Kong. Yeah, I did give Donkey Kong the fighting type instead of normal because he's very muscular. And also so that Diddy, as a normal type, would be different to him. It's still just a normal type and not even on the likes of slacking or anything, but I guess you could give Diddy a couple of different elemental attacks. I think like some grass type attacks definitely, but he will just stay a normal type, so yeah. I guess that's all you can really do with Diddy Kong. I like Diddy Kong, he's my favorite character from the Donkey Kong franchise, but he is what he is, just a cute little monkey.
Lucas.
Well, when it comes to Lucas, I guess he will just be the same as Ness, a psychic type, because what else honestly fits? Though I am a tad bit inclined to make him Psychic Dragon, because he has that little snake thingy, and well, that just would add a bit more to him, you know? So, make him Psychic Dragon? Can we all agree on that? Let's agree on that. For Sonic, I had a bit to think about, because when it comes to Sonic's powers, yeah, of course, speed immediately comes to mind. Though speed is not a type, and like every type can be speedy. Even the rock type has a speedy variant of it with rock ruff, but you know what's the most speedy type? Electric. Also, Sonic has seemed to have electric powers. So, pure electric though? Well, yes, pure electric, because I just couldn't think of anything else. Now, he kinda has a mode change in Supersonic, but I think that doesn't really change his typing though. There's still only electric that makes sense to me, so pure electric in whatever form he is in, it is. So, well, King Dedede. That was a bit of a harder one. Like, a penguin, you might think of ice, but he hasn't shown to have any affinity for ice or anything. He has a wooden hammer? Yeah, that's definitely not enough to be a grass type. But apparently, in some games, including Kirby Pinball, he has electric powers? Okay. So, an electric type? I do like the idea of an electric type penguin, so yeah, I want to give him that. I contemplated flying as well, because he can fly. But, as he is basically an overweight penguin, I think it would be funny to not give him flying type despite the ability of flight. Just because it's funny. I can do that. This is my video. You can't stop me. You can complain in the comments, of course. Please complain in the comments. Comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. So, Olimar actually was pretty easy. One thing we have to keep in mind is that he is not by his own. He has the little pigmen with him, and they are an inherent part of this character. It's basically like Execute being made out of multiple Pokemon. Stuff like that. So a grass type, that's easy. Grass because of the pigmen. But that's not all. As a commander of those pigmen, I think Psychic type would be good. Because if you think about it, the pigmen do what he wants, and they do it pretty uncommon, you know? Like, he did not train them or anything. He can just communicate with them from the get-go. Like, he just can. That seems like psychic powers to me. In a Pokemon setting, at least. I mean, the actual Olimar, I don't think he has psychic powers really, but honestly, who knows? His race seems to be kinda not that well known. Rob. You can argue for a lot of things, except Steel type. And that, he is not. Yes, you might think, well, Robot, why isn't he a Steel type? Like, isn't that the most obvious choice? But think about it. Rob is technically made out of plastic, not of steel. So why would he be Steel type, really? Rob, I think he will be a normal type. Yes, he does have some electrical attacks and stuff, but I feel Rob would be that kind of normal type that has a huge variety of different typed attacks. Maybe you could say that the spinning tops he uses, they are made out of steel and thus steel attacks. The electric attacks he has, the shooting of laser beams might be a fairy type attack. Stuff like that. He is one of those normal types. I would make him not that sturdy, but very offensive rather. Maybe? Speedy? Something like that. I'm not going into stats in this really because, quite honestly, I don't care too much about stats in the games as well, so just going with typing, I think normal fits him, given he is made out of plastic. If you want to see him as a steel type because he's a robot and might be made out of steel even though the toy is plastic, I can totally see that as well, but I would think it's interesting to have a Pokemon that seems like a certain type but is not that type. So, there you have it. Toon Link. I mean, we gotta give Link fighting type. As a swordsman, he is a fighting type. There's no way around that. I am a bit inclined to give him flying type as well, though. Water type, maybe? There are a lot of arguments you can make with him. Flying type because Toon Link is predominantly known for Wind Waker, where he has control of the wind. The flying type kinda also being the wind type. The problem with the flying type though is that it says flying, not wind. If it was a wind type, no brainer. He would have the wind type. He cannot fly though, so while it would make sense for him to have all those flying type attacks that use wind, is he a flying type himself? Then you can argue for the water type, because the whole boat thing, the ocean. But he himself doesn't have watery powers in any way, shape or form, so will he just as well be a pure fighting type then? Just with a variety of different attacks, moves of different types? I don't know. I kinda don't wanna have him be just fighting type again. But ultimately I think we have to. Like, all the arguments you could make for other types don't really work that well. So yeah. You gotta be, again, fighting type purely. When it comes to Wolf, I did struggle a bit. I couldn't really find much in terms of abilities, except, well, he basically has fighting abilities and can pilot an R-Wing, so, yeah. Nothing really elemental or anything about that. So, is he fighty, fisty enough to be a fighting type? Maybe people who know the Star Fox franchise much more than I do, because I barely know anything, to be honest. I can add to this, but I have a feeling Dark type might fit. He seems to be a bit, like, grim and ruthless, apparently. So, yeah, I'm just gonna say Dark type. If you disagree, yeah, feel free to do so in the comments. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with this franchise specifically. So, yeah. Yeah, actually, the Villager is easy. The Villager will just be a normal type, but with a variety of different typed moves. Because the tools he can use and stuff. So, yeah. Well, it's bad to say. You cannot become more normal than the Villager, right?
Mega Man!
Yeah, Mega Man will be a normal type. Now you might think, wait, normal? For this robot? Yes, normal for this robot. Yeah, technically he's made out of steel, so steel type could work. But hear me out. I want to give him an ability that if you defeat an opposing Pokemon, you gain one of that Pokemon's types. Just like Mega Man copies the abilities of other Robot Masters. So, technically he can be every type. And I would give him a specific attack that is always the same type as his attack. It's probably something that fires some kind of energy pellet. You know, like the Mega Buster. And I think that just works perfectly for Mega Man. Becoming whatever type he defeats. Now if he defeats a normal type, nothing will change, but, you know. Who cares? Wii Fit Trainer. Yeah. I think there are only two types that would apply here. Either normal, because in the end the Wii Fit Trainer is just a normal person. Then again, they are very fit and trained, so maybe fighting. One of these two definitely, but both fit depending on how you want to see it, so yeah. We'll just go with that.
Rosalina and Luma.
For Rosalina and Luma, I for Tactile thought maybe Dragon, because spacey stuff often has to do with the dragons in Pokemon, but that seems too wishy-washy, honestly. Now, however, I think Fairy type really fits them well. They are like this magical duo. I thought maybe also give them the Flying type, because they can fly around. And honestly, Fairy Flying sounds like the right choice. I like that. Yeah. So, that's the typing we have for Super Mario Elsa. Little Mac and cheese. He is a boxer, so obviously he would be bug type. And I'm not even joking that much. I kinda wanna make him fighting bug. Yeah, he doesn't have any bug-like appearance or anything, but he is that underdog character. That character that does seem weak at first, but like he becomes the strongest and thing. I feel the bug type just works for that. Metaphorically, of course, not in looks, but I don't have chances to use the bug type in any way here anyway, so why not lose it in that way? You know? And if you don't like it, just imagine him being pure fighting, because, well, that's inarguably a type he needs to have. Okay, Palutena. I mean, you cannot argue with Fairy type here. Though, basically just like Rosalina, I also wanna give her the Flying type on top of that. She is able to give somebody else wings, and surely she can fly herself as well. She can grow wings after all. So, another Flying Fairy, and it just makes sense for her. For her, most of all, honestly. So, there you have it. Pac-Man! I mean, what else can I give him than normal, right? I do wanna give him a specific ability though. So yeah, he will be pure normal, but he has the ability that once he has eaten a berry, you can give it to him in battle, or it can be a held item. That doesn't really matter. As long as he eats a berry, he becomes super effective against ghost types, no matter which type of move he uses. I think that kind of fits him. And that ability stays around for 3 turns, and then you have to give a new berry. I think that sounds balanced enough. So yeah. I also kind of want to give him a form change, because there is an... Was it Pac-Man World or something? The Super Nintendo game nobody likes. Where he has this Super Pac-Man form, getting a cape and everything, and basically then becoming a flying type. So, there we go. That's Pac-Man. I think that's as creative as I can get with him. So, Robin. The problem we have with characters like Robin, those mage characters, is that they have access to a lot more elements than Pokemon have types. Pokemon only have 2 types, but he can use fire, ice, thunder, light, shadow, whatever book you equip him. I wouldn't say he's a fighting type though. But as a genius strategist, maybe he is a psychic type with a huge variety of moves. Or maybe he's not a variety of moves guy, but rather has a specific move that changes its typing depending on the book you equip him. Something along those lines. But I think Psychic is a definite fit for him. So we're gonna go with that. Shulk, honestly, is easy. Mostly. He has the ability to see into the future, so yeah, he is a Psychic type. That's so for sure. Is he also a fighting type though? The thing is, yes, he is very capable of fighting and he has grown as a swordsman over the course of the game. But honestly, he started out as more of a scientist who did a bit of fighting. He was like trained in fighting, but every Pokemon basically is, so I'm not sure if that warrants the fighting type already. Given that no other type really fits, except maybe Fairy? Making him a Psychic Fairy type? You might wonder why Fairy, but it's just... I don't know, somehow he feels Fairy-ish. No, it doesn't really fit. No, it's not Fairy, so... You know what? I will give him Psychic Fighting. Fighting not because of his fighting abilities in general, but because of how the Monado works with that energy or aura blade. And that whole aura thing is a very fighting type thing in Pokemon. So, Psychic Fairy, fighting, not Fairy, he is.
Bowser Jr.
So, Bowser Jr. Yeah, this, like his father, has gotta be a dragon type, right?
3,
Though...
1, go!
Does he warrant a secondary type? Nah. I think pure dragon fits him. I thought maybe flying because he's most of the time seen in his little clown pot thingy. But he doesn't fly that much with it, like... I mean, even if he does, it's an extra gadget, not an innate power of him. Not that I ignored that for some of the people in this game, but... Yeah, I think having him pure dragon, that's okay. That is very much okay.
Duck Hunt Duo!
The Duck Hunt Duo might be the worst. But also kinda easy. I am gonna do something I do not like. I despise.
1,
But I will make them normal flying. Why? One is a duck that can fly. The other is just a normal dog. And that is all these are about. They're a dog and a duck. I have nothing to work with here. So, accept it or don't. It's Duck Hunt Duo. Why are you this invested into it? Ryu. From Street Fighter. Street Fighter. I mean, do I even need to say fighting type? Do I really need to say that? But as his name means dragon, I kinda wanna give him the dragon type as well. Just because, you know, it's, yeah. It's something I can do and I will do and I wanna do. So So, giving him a bit more variety than fighting game guy being fighting type, you know. Ken. Just like Ryu, Street Fighter fighting guy. I have not much to work with here, but I have a feeling Ken has an innate ability with fire stuff. So I would give him fighting fire. Again, this is just such an underused combination. We gotta have some fighting fire types, right? Right? Is this joke getting old now? Should I stop? Maybe I should stop. I will not stop. Okay, Cloud. Of course, as a Cloud, it needs to be a flying type, because Cloud's fly... Wait, what? He's not a Cloud, it's just his name. Oh, I see. He doesn't really look like a Cloud, right? All joking aside, I want to give him Fighting Dark. Now you might wonder, well, he's not like evil, right? So why Dark? Yeah, well, he himself is not evil. His soul isn't. His body was messed around with and made him into a soldier, and that did some stuff to him. And I think those practices make his body a dark type, while his soul is not a dark type. And the fighting type is because he's obviously capable of fighting. Fighting Dark. FD. Final Fantasy. Or something like that. Yeah, Corrin isn't too hard, honestly. It will be a fighting dragon type because he is a very capable fighter. And also, he literally turns into a dragon. And even if he doesn't turn into a dragon, you could say, wait, why isn't it just a form change? Even without turning into a dragon wholly, he can use dragon type attacking things. Like, he has that one attack where his arm turns into a dragon head, some stuff like that. You know? He doesn't fully turn into a dragon necessarily to use these dragon powers. So, fighting dragon it is. Easy. So, Bayonetta. Yeah, actually, this is easy. She is a witch. And, well, not evil, but she summons demons and stuff. So, dark type just makes sense. But she's not only an Umbra witch. She's also partially a Lumen Sage. So I want to give her the fairy type. There's one other, maybe even much better reason to give her fairy type than her being born from the union of light and darkness. And that reason is that fairy rhymes with Harry. Okay, the Inkling. Water type. I mean, I was reluctant to give them water type because in the game, if you fall into the water, you basically die. Or are defeated at least. Though they can dive, swim around, they even have that swimming form and everything. And the only ink-based attack in Pokemon, Octazooka, is a water type. So, you know, it just fits. I'm also kinda thinking poison type. I know that the ink isn't necessarily poisonous they use. It's washable easily and stuff. But I feel like to other Pokemon, this ink could be poisonous. I mean, just being sprayed with different colored ink can defeat you after all, so, you know. I think water poison works. Yeah, well, Ridley is an evil space dragon. Dragon Dark, you know? It's just writing itself. I have nothing to add, to be honest. Simon Belmont! I cannot give him anything besides a pure fighting type. Yeah, I know he gains other abilities depending on the game and stuff, but he himself is just a vampire hunter. He was trained in fighting, so definitely a fighting type is warranted, but other than that, honestly, I can't see anything else here. Richter Belmont. I mean, I know they're not the same character and they are very different in how they act and stuff. But gameplay wise and ability wise, he is just Simon in blue. So I gotta treat him the same way as Simon and just making him a pure fighting type. What can I do? So, King K. Rool, just because he's a crocodile and thus a reptile, I don't want to make him dragon type. Pokemon doesn't do that as well. Look at crocodile and stuff. Though, what else to make him? I guess he's a pure steel type. I mean, look at his belly. He likes to throw his crown as an attack, which is also made out of metal. Yeah, it's not steel, it's gold, but look at all the steel type Pokemon. Not all of them are steel, so I think it's fair. He will just be your run-of-the-mill, sturdy steel type. Who steals bananas for no reason. My first thought for Isabelle was, well, normal type. I mean, look at her. She's pretty normal. But she deserves more. I'm gonna make her a psychic fairy type. She has a high intelligence, given what she managed and all, so psychic would fit. And the fairy type? She is so freakingly good-natured, she deserves it. Period. That one she doesn't deserve, but she is a woman, so with Animal Crossing characters, maybe don't think about that. The Piranha Plant. I mean, the name, you know, it gives it already away. Water type, because piranha are fishes, right? No, just kidding. Of course, it's a grass type. Can we do something else with them? Well, there are some that spit fire, sure. Some spit steel balls. But I think if we go for any kind of secondary type, it would be poison. I know they don't do anything poisonous in the Mario games, but poison isn't much of a thing. Even like the poison swarms you have don't poison Mario, you just die falling into them, so the concept of poisoning in Mario games is unexplored, and I think if there was such a thing, the Piranha Plant would be the #1 enemy to poison you. Maybe something created newly for a game that includes that mechanic, but, you know, I think it would fit. Grass poison. Yeah, Joker, actually easy. He will be a dark ghost type. I mean, he himself is not a ghost, but, well, let's go into dark type first. He is a thief. Yeah, he does so for good, but he still enters the consciousness of people to steal something and things. Sure, it is to help, but you just could describe him as a lawful evil kind of guy. So, yeah, dark type fits him. Then for the ghost type, well, technically, it's more his persona being the ghost type. Because his main persona, Arsene, can use the AHA spells, which do curse damage and wet. Well, curse damage would be Pokemon's ghost type. And the personas themselves are kinda ghosts. I know they're not like ghosts, but you know what I mean. If you don't know what I mean, use that thing between your ears. And I'm not talking about your nose. The hero from Dragon Quest XI. I think you could argue fighting type because he becomes a capable fighter and things, but I have other plans for him. And that would be, firstly, the thunder type, or electric type of Pokemon. Why did I say thunder there? Why thunder? Electric? I mean, what is wrong with me? Because the thunder elemental spells in Dragon Quest are maybe not exclusive to the heroes, but they are very, very associated with the heroes. So it makes sense. In some games, only the heroes are the ones who can use those spells. So yeah, electric it is. And the other would be fairy, because basically he's the hero of light. He uses like the light sword and things. He forges that sword even, together with his friends. And I think Fairy, being Pokemon's light type basically, would fit that. So, yeah. Okay, Banjo and Kazooie. I'm gonna give them pure normal type. Because in the end, they're not that much of fighters, so I don't think fighting type would fit, and they're basically a bear and a bird. And I know what you might want to say. Wait, bird, flying type. Yeah, and there are flightless birds in Pokemon, but you know, Kazooie can only really fly with the help of certain platforms and those feathers. And first needs to learn that in the games and stuff. It's not like Kazooie can just fly. Also, what makes the normal type very fitting is that all sound-based attacks, or almost all sound-based attacks, are normal types. And they are Banjo and Kazooie. I would imagine they have a lot of those, so bear with me, but that is normal type. Terry. Fatal Furies Terry. I can only really give him pure fighting type. I mean, what else would you give him, really? So, if you got any other idea and can explain that idea, of course, feel free to tell me, but it's just, he's a fighter. He fights. Period. Byleth. Fighting type, because he's an expert swordsman, of course. That just makes sense, and I want to give him dark type, because, I don't know, he seems not that good, honestly. When I think of three houses, no matter which route you take, all of them seem kind of like you're on the wrong side. That's what I did not like about that game. Like, the gameplay was fine, but the story is like, I don't know, I never felt like I was the good guy. No matter which route I took, it was always wrong. I don't know. So I do want to give him the dark type, which basically is the evil type. It's, yeah, maybe it's just how I feel, but yeah. Min Min. Okay, I have several ideas here. One set idea that we need to give her is Dragon type, because I mean, Her main arms are dragon arms, so that fits. Now, fire would be a possible type. Fire, because those arms can breathe fire, you know? Then, another possible type would be water, because you boil noodles in water. And the stretchiness of her arms also being like noodles, not to mention her cooking stuff. I don't know. What I would in the end wanna do though, and that opens her up for a lot of things and probably makes her overpowered, is that you have that arm that is the dragon type, but the other one is exchangeable by held items. And that arm basically determines what her secondary type is. If you put on like another dragon arm, she's just a pure dragon type, so yeah, that might have its merits. If you put on an arm that does something with fire, it's a dragon fire type, something with wind, dragon flying. She is versatile in that way, but always a dragon type. I think that's a good way to go for Min Min here. Steve. Never having played Minecraft, I have no idea what Steve's abilities really are, though I assume he mines and he crafts. And it's kind of similar to Dragon Quest Builder's main character, I guess. But also kind of different. I have a feeling ground type works for him because you do a lot of stuff with ground. Like the cubes, you know. It's just stone, ground, those are your main building things, I assume. So ground type works, and honestly I think that's it. That's making him a ground type. Best I can do. Come on, Sephiroth, easy dark type because he's evil dude, even though he's one of the lamest firefighting? Final Fantasy villains. Firefighting? What is firefighting? Yeah, like, and one of the weakest of the villains. I mean, look at Kefka, he's becoming a freaking god. But we're not here for that discussion. So, dark type is a given. I thought to give him steel type because his sword is very initial to his design. But flying might also work because he has that one wing and he often flies. But I would rather go with dark steel, to be honest. Let's make him a dark steel type. So, Pyra and Mithra, the announcer didn't even mention Mithra for some reason, are easy. They give you their elements through their game already. Pyra being a fire type. And then you can form change into Mithra becoming a fairy type, which basically is the light type, so yeah, that's it. I have not played Tekken. Well, I did as a child somewhere, but Kazuya? Well, the obvious part is fighting type, of course. The fighting game characters do need fighting type. But he also has that demonic form. I'm not sure if we will, like, make him have a form change turning him into a dark fighting type, or is he always has to be a dark fighting type? You can tell me that if you know Tekken better. But dark is there somewhere, of course, as well as fighting. So, yeah, easy picks. Sora! His name meaning sky could give you the idea of making him a flying type. But while he is sometimes able to learn to fly, I think that would be a stretch. But Sora's good-natured self makes him definitely a fairy type. I mean, come on, that just fits him so well. Then he can use some magic, yeah, but those are different elements. We just could do that by moves. He has form changes technically, but I don't think any of those form changes necessarily warrant a type change as well. And they're not accessible for him all the time on top of that, so... Will he just stay a pure fairy type? I mean, if you wanna, you can add fighting type, but I don't see him as like a big fighter. He does fight, of course, but it's not like things are about fighting for him. He fights because he has to, not because he wants to. So ultimately, I think just pure fairy is the best for him. So, the Mii Brawler, as well as the Sword Fighter and the Gunner, they're all gonna be fighting types because, I mean, they are made for a fighting game. And, I don't know. I have no idea what else to give them. Sure, the Sword Fighter might be a Steel type. We could give the Gunner Electric, because he fires electrical beams, if you want to. Could also be Beams of Light, so Fairy, I guess. And the Brawler, I don't know. Let's just make all three of them pure fighting types. We don't have to give them specific typings, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. It all kind of depends on how you create them as well and things. They are just like this blank card. And that it is. I gave all Super Smash Bros. Characters Pokemon types. That was a ton of work and I hope you enjoyed this video. So also check out the video you can see on the screen here. Check out all the links down in the description and everything. Leave a like, subscribe. I would appreciate that so much. And I guess we'll see each other next time. Maybe if this reaches like 100 likes, let's say we get 100 likes, I will give every assist trophy a Pokemon type. So, bye.